Hello everybody, my name is Marisa and I'd like to give you a very warm welcome on behalf of the Edible Cities Network. Today we are kicking off our very first webinar in the series EdiCitNet Global Lunch Talks on Urban Food Innovation. This is an ongoing series that we're starting today. These are going to be short, bite-sized 1-hour sessions organized to coincide with your lunchtime. If you're based in Europe, this webinar series is an opportunity also, of course, for you to ask questions to our Edible City experts that will be visiting us from our project and beyond. And today you can ask your questions to the Guangzhou City Team who are joining us throughout the session by using the Q&A box that you'll see at the bottom of your screen. So rather than using the chat, please post your questions in there and we will answer them when we come to the Q&A session at the end. So today we are joined by a couple of different members of the Edible Cities Network project. So first up, we have Dr. Ina Zeumel from the Humboldt University in Berlin. Ina is the principal investigator of the EdiCitNet project. We'll be starting today's webinar with a brief introduction to the project, its aims, and of course, explaining a little bit about the importance of the city teams. And we're also very happy to be joined today by the city team from Guangzhou. It's not lunchtime in China, it's the evening, so we're very grateful that they've taken the time to join us today, and we're looking forward to hearing more about what they are. Just one more piece of advertising before we move on. We have another event coming up in February, which we're very excited about. This is our conference. So if you're interested in the topic of urban food innovation, then you can join us for a longer 2-day event. This is on the 16th and 17th of February. We're going to have keynote speakers, panel discussions, a networking session, all around the topic of edible nature-based solutions and sustainable cities. And you can also find the link to register for that on our website. That will also be an online event, and that's happening in February. So just visit edicitnet.com and you can click the link to sign up there. So with no further ado, I'd like to hand over to Ina for the introduction.
Thank you, Marisa, for this nice introduction. Yes, I'm really happy to welcome you to this lunch talks. Today we will travel to China, and I will start with some introducing words. We have common challenges actually worldwide. The urban environmental conditions challenge human health and well-being and also threaten natural resources. The ongoing urbanization decreases green space per capita and increases the need to counteract environmental injustice, criminality, and also the exclusion of vulnerable groups. And in addition, we have rising costs for maintenance of infrastructure and for mitigation of the climate change. So our mission in the EdiCitNet project is to develop edible city solutions, which are a special kind of nature-based solutions. Edible city solutions overcome the mismatch between traditional nature-based solutions and citizens by deepening the social dimension of nature-based solutions. We mainstream successful co-creation practices from edible city solutions that are socially inclusive, that invite citizens to co-create the sustainable development of their society, and to proactively change the urban environment to their benefits. And this finally can induce a paradigm shift of lifestyle, of everybody's lifestyle. We do this by co-creating common community of knowledge, practice, and cosmology. This is our co-creation strategy. Maybe a short reminder, what are edible city solutions? We see there a wide range of different forms of urban farming. Here you can see this in the triangle of the sustainability. They provide environmental benefits, social cultural benefits, and economic benefits. And all these different types of edible city solutions are combined with closed loop systems. So we foster a circular economy. We have closed loops for, regarding water, nutrient, and waste management. And we use innovative principles for ecological design, closed material and energy flows. And therefore, our concept on edible city solutions amplifies the benefits provided by traditional nature-based solutions from the supply of ecosystem services such as cooling, air and water cleaning, habitat services, or recreation, towards provisioning services, so that address also food security, poverty elevation, and inequality in urban areas. So we have in all of our cities, we have co-created city teams, communities of knowledge, practice, and cosmology. We have currently 13 open and participatory city teams. One you can meet today in this lunch talk. They work in a collective learning process. This process leads to a comprehensive and co-developed knowledge base with contribution from both theoretical and practical contexts. There are city administrators in the teams, architects, planners, members of local NGOs or businesses as well. So the communities are built on common needs, resources, and capabilities, and all aim to improve the living conditions in their immediate environment. We have in the project very different perspectives on the institutional context of each city, and this was analyzed by the city teams in the start of the project. What we have seen is that we have a wide range of different geographies of co-creation also in our cities. Here on this map, you can see the different cities that are participating in the project. And we have very different approaches also on co-creation and citizen participation. There we have in some of our cities vivid neighborhood organizations and also participatory budgeting approaches where really the citizens take over responsibility and take decision. In other cities, we have more patriarchal approaches to participation. So there are more top-down solutions. That means that citizens become, an option to choose maybe, but they do not co-create it by themselves. We also observed in some of our cities a type of distrust of bottom-up initiatives against top-down administration. So of course there are tensions that we are using in a creative way. And of course we also observed during the last years in the project also political changes that lead to rigorous staff and project changes. And so we have also always adapted again our city teams. There are also personal changes and also changes in the strategies of the whole city. So we have planning versus acting cultures and also different city sizes that of course matter in a city team. So what we learned so far is that we have to recognize and build up on existing structures of co-creation within each city, within each community. We have to build a trustworthy, transparent, lateral working environment, and we have always reflect critically on existing power asymmetries. It's really important, even if there are political changes, to do advocacy, lobbying, consensus beyond political parties and strands. And at least for those that are coming from a scientific background, it's really important to facilitate this co-creation process and not to guide them. So we have to have open minds for other approaches, and something really important is that we can make mistakes, and we have to talk transparent about our mistakes and learn from them. So what we try is to create a culture of errors, a new culture of errors, that they are really helpful to improve. So what we are do in our project is we co-create the living labs and we co-create master plans with the city teams. So we test edible city solutions in the living labs, and we co-develop sustainable master plans to anchor edible city solutions in the cities. So we have always a multi-perspective view on urban food systems. And what is really important, to handle over responsibility and decision-making power regarding the scenarios that we develop, regarding the budgeting, how to spend money, and also what we want to monitor, which are our key performance indicators for success. And also something that I would like to mention shortly is the Edible City Solution Marketplace and business consulting, because what we observed in many of our cities is that we have many initiatives that start with a lot of enthusiasm, but finally they also fight with fragility and self-exploitation. So what we also offer in the project is to open eyes for sustainable business ideas. And something that we also want to discuss during the next lunch talks is the impact which has COVID-19 on our work, but this we will see in a later talk. Oh, now I hand it over to our colleagues from Guangzhou, and I wish you an interesting discussion.
Hello, everyone. I'm Zhifeng Wang from Peking University. It's my great pleasure today to share with you all our ongoing work to integrate edible city solutions in southern China. This work is done by our Guangzhou City Team. Its primary has 3 groups of people. The first group of people is a Guangzhou Planning Institute. It's the largest planning institute working a lot with the local government. So their role in our project is to connect with relevant department and the institute at the regional level. And also they will organize and compile our work result to talk with local government officers. The second group of people involved is our community designers. Community designer is a group of people working directly with local government. They provide planning and design suggestions to local communities. So their role in our project is connect with relevant department at the community level, and also they will try to carry out our research and also some part of our application of our research result in different communities. And the last group is our Peking University group. We primarily provide academic guidance to the whole project. As you can see, in each team, we have our team leader, and also we have 2 to 3 group members. We also have other people involved in our city team, but this is 3 key organizations in our work. Before we start talking about our ongoing work, I want first to discuss briefly some contextual difference between China and the EU, because this will be very important to our work, and also because what we are doing right now may be different from what's going on in Europe. As you know or not, the land in China is totally nationally or collectively owned, so we don't have private land ownership. At the same time, we are still in the process of rapid urbanization. And the most important, in China, we have very, very strong top-down decision-making process. Our bottom-up process in planning and design is growing, but still the top-down decision-making is leading everything. And another thing I want to bring is we have territory spatial planning ongoing all across China right now. So what we are doing in our project is try to integrate our edible city solutions potentially into the territory spatial planning process. Today, I will share our ongoing work from 4 perspectives. The first is about geographical location and also societal challenges of our project. And the second one is about existing edible city solutions and the field of actions. And the third part is our scenario development process and also our scenario scope. The fourth one is our goals of combination and also some part of our scenario description. So the first is about our geographical area and the societal challenges. Our study site is at Panyu District, Guangzhou City. As you may know, Guangzhou City is in the southern part of China, and Panyu District is located in the southern central part of Guangzhou City. So far, Panyu District is still primary agricultural land use, but it has very strong urban sprawl pressure due to the development of the central urban areas in Guangzhou. The whole district has an area around 530 square kilometers, and the population is already over 2.6 million. At the same time, the Guangzhou city has a very unique geographical features because Panyu district is a boundary of Shatian and Weitian. Shatian and Weitian is 2 types of very unique agricultural types in Guangzhou area. Shatian is a floodplain with very dense water network. Weitian is hilly area surrounded by lowland. And the Panyu district has both type of this kind of water system together with a farmland and a village system. In Guangzhou, the societal challenges for agricultural landscape is totally different at urban area and at rural area. In urban area, the most important challenges is how to improve food self-sufficiency and also how to fulfill the desire for enhanced social cohesion. In the rural area, the primary challenges is how to preserve permanent basic farmland and also how to balance ecological and agricultural landscapes. The area of our focus, the Panyu district, we would consider it as a urban-rural interface. So it has the intertwined challenges from both urban and rural areas. And we synthesize our societal challenges as to address the need of food self-sufficiency through sustainable urban agriculture, considering the needs for social cohesion and ecological conservation. And the second part is about our existing edible city solutions and the fields of actions. So the first most important of the existing edible city solutions is the local agricultural heritage. At Panyu district, we have very unique dike pond landscape. Dike pond landscape is a special agricultural landscape at the Guangzhou area. As you can see from the photos, there are lots of fish pond, and there are a lot of mulberry and vegetables grows at the dikes. So far, we still have more than 1,000 mulberry pond at Panyu area. At the same time, we also have quite a lot ongoing edible city solutions. We have a list of many different type of solutions, and here we only list 3. So as you can see here, we have edible landscape research group, and we have get contacted with this group of people. And we also have a lot of agricultural parks and some of the roof vegetable garden. Yeah, different type of edible city solutions already exist in Guangzhou City. With that, we found our fields of action is quite complicated, and the primary has 5 key components. The first part is the legal framework. In China, we have very strong land management law. In particularly, the permanent basic farmland preservation is the most critical law in China. At the same time, Panyu district has its own development strategies. And also, in terms of our legal framework, the whole Guangzhou city has a shopping basket program developed to promote food self-sufficiency. Spatial planning part, we also has a lot of different type of planning ongoing in China, and also at Panyu district. For instance, the agricultural parks, and also the planning of the community garden. Yeah. Fields of actions also involved a lot of people, including the local government and the planning institute, the planning community planners or designers, and also tourists, food distributors, residents, and also the farmers. The urban food system, we primarily have 3 systems. It's about food producing, food consuming, and also food transportation. In terms of environment and climate, the key concern is microclimate improvement, and also the environmental justice, as well as ecological conservation. With that, we try to work out our scenario goals and also our scenario group. And my student Xizun will introduce the following part.
Hi everyone, this is Xizun and I will introduce the following part. First, goal number 1, improve food self-sufficiency and structure and efficiency. As we can see in the picture, the fragmentation distribution of agricultural land in Panyu is obvious. The proportion of scattered arborland is nearly 40%, and this scattered arborland has low productivity. There are problems of abandonment of farmland and accumulation of waste. Goal number 2, fulfill the desire for enhanced social cohesion. There are 55 villages planned to regenerate within 10 years and become business area, high-tech area, or high-density residential area. However, lots of permanent basic farmland is located in these villages. The conflicts between high desire for urban agriculture and low efficiently used community public spaces are need to deal with. Goal number 3, preserve permanent basic farmland. In the past 40 years, the area of arborland in Panyu district has shrunk by 63%. At the same time, urban construction land has expanded nearly 10 times, mainly due to the transfer of arborland. In order to protect the current arborland and improve planning quality, the southeast of Panyu district is planned as permanent basic farmland concentration area. Goal number 4, balance ecological and agricultural landscapes. Seagull Island is the largest original ecological island in Guangzhou and the first stop of northern migratory birds. And also, Panyu is an area between the river and sea, which make it a transfer station for the migration of saltwater and freshwater fish. Based on the scenario process goals, we focus on the scenario scope as follows. The natural resources of Panyu District are mainly forest land and water area. The arborland area is 36 square kilometers, and the target of permanent basic farmland is 60 square. So we focus on the east of Panyu, which is called Lianhua Bay area. It's located within an area of 260 square kilometers, including 190 square kilometers on land. And our first part is goals combinations and scenario description. As you can see in the diagram, we combine goal number 1 and 2 to scenario number 1, promote high-tech agricultural model, and goal number 1 and 3 to scenario 2, build agricultural parks and community gardens. At last, we combine goal 3 and 4 to scenario 3, combine ecological corridors to protect farmland. First, we have scenario 1, promote high-tech agricultural model. In order to improve food self-sufficiency structure and efficiency, we would like to construct a modern agricultural industry chain and use three-dimensional farms to improve output efficiency. The output of benefit of a three-dimensional fruit farm is 4 to 5 times that of the same land. Also, we do the SWOT analysis of scenario 1. The strength of it is free from the destruction of disasters, lower manpower maintenance costs, improved use building facade space, and the opportunities are many strong policy support and central fiscal subsidies, more suitable for corporate or market capital participation. The weakness existing technology is difficult to renovate the buildings, and existing technology is difficult to achieve organic production. More equipment invested in the early stage and high capital threshold. The threat is the technological requirements of high-tech agriculture are relatively high, and there are problems of the recognition acceptance. And scenario 2 is to build agricultural parks and community gardens. In this scenario, we can not only protect the basic farmland, but also make good use of the public spaces. The strength of the scenario 2 is the agricultural park model is conducive to the integration of fragmented farmland in the city, and judging from successful cases in Guangzhou, urban agricultural parks can well balance farmland protection and park leisure functions. The opportunity is that as a special urban park, it can be better integrated into the existing planning system, and it is a model of policy advocacy and support to enhance farmland value. The weakness is as follows, like existing land laws and regulations have strict regulations on the farmland facilities, and the limited scope of leisure services limits the economic benefits. The threat is that currently urban agricultural parks are mostly led by the government, and the participation of enterprises and the market is low. In scenario 3, we propose to combine ecological corridors to protect farmland. We would like to construct natural corridors for bird migration and construct fish migratory habitat, and the most important, to repair Seagull Island to protect the farmland. In this scenario, we have strengths like farmland in the city can be used as an important patch of bird migration corridor, and farmland along the river and coast is an important habitat for fish migration. The opportunity is ecological corridor is an indispensable technical content in the current planning system. Not only in China, the planning of incorporating farmland and urban areas into ecological corridors has been practiced in many countries such as Germany and Australia. The weakness is it may bring potential agricultural non-point source pollution, and the current planning system is cautious about incorporating agricultural land into urban green spaces. The threat is the government is dominated by the government, and the participation and attractiveness of the market is insufficient. Our ongoing projects focus on Scenario 2, build agricultural parks. Some of the villages in the city center need regeneration, and the farmlands belong to the village can be used to build urban agricultural parks. For example, Sixian Village. Sixian Village is located in the northeast of Panyu with a lot of farmland. The village is planned to be regenerated within 5 years, and in the Masterplan of the regeneration project, northeast part is planned to build an agricultural park which is for nature education, agricultural tourism, and high-tech agricultural experience. As you can see, we envisioned 6 different kinds of agricultural parks. For example, innovative and shared agricultural park, agricultural science and education park, 3-dimensional agricultural science and technology park, future agricultural experimental park, agricultural cultural park, and agricultural leisure experience park. And we plan to investigate Panyu district several days later. Let's looking forward to our new progress. Thanks for your listening. That's all.
That was the very interesting presentation from Xifang and Xizun Wang from the Guangzhou City Team. And now we are here with both of them and another member of the city team, and also someone from who works with Ina and myself at EdiCitNet in Berlin. So I would ask you each to introduce yourselves, just say your name and who you are.
Wang Qingchaodan, and my English name is Zoe Wang, and you can just call me Zoe. I'm from the GZPI.
Yeah, I'm Zhifeng Wang, working at Peking University.
I'm Xizun Wang, and I'm Zhifeng Wang student.
Hi, I'm Hai Li. I'm a student from Humboldt University, working with Ina, and I'm here doing some communication work.
My name is Ina Sonne. I'm the coordinator of the EdiCitNet Project, and I'm really happy to have Guangzhou and this nice city team on board. And we are happy to discuss now the questions. Yes, my first question would be that how you think to manage possible pollutions from the agricultural runoff, from agrochemicals. Are you willing to implement organic farming methods there? And is there a market for organic products in the city of Guangzhou?
Okay. Maybe I will answer this question. Like Guangzhou also uses organic farming methods, but mostly a mix of organic and non-organic farming methods. And Guangzhou has some markets for organic products, but it is not yet systematic and material. and few people are willing to pay more for organic food, like in Europe or Western countries. People just go to the markets and pick the food they like, but not pick the food by organic or non-organic.
Yeah. And at the same time, your first question is about, maybe some of the control strategy for non-point solution of agriculture landscape. Yeah. Unfortunately, there's not much. We don't have much systematic control in terms of that yet. Although we have sponge city, but the sponge city mainly implemented in the city area. So the non-point source pollution of agriculture has been investigated by many research, but has not been well controlled so far. Yeah, to my knowledge. Yeah.
Next question we have is about the methods of farming. So we saw different methods in the presentation that you recorded. But there's a question asking about how these different methods interact with each other. So are you using a mix of traditional farming methods and high tech? And how do these two interact with each other?
Yeah, well, as far as I know that the urban agriculture in Guangzhou adopts a combination of traditional and modern natural and scientific high-tech farming methods, which complement each other according to the local conditions. For example, the more rural an area is, the more traditional methods are used, and high-tech methods are normally explored by large farms and agricultural companies in urban-rural interfaces.
Yeah, we have all of this. Yeah, but it really depends. Yeah, it really depends.
Yeah.
Normally, the more rural areas, the more traditional the method. Yeah, high tech. This kind of high tech method normally used by individual firms. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we saw a lot of high-tech methods in your presentation. No, these vertical farms and this kind of thing, but then these also very traditional methods like these ponds.
Yeah, exactly. Because the
ponds.
local government supports a lot of has a lot of support for the high-tech agriculture development. Yeah, this is why quite some company just invest in that kind of high-tech agriculture.
Yeah, thank you, Marisa. So actually, I was interested in how these projects landed on inland Guangzhou. So I think the agriculture park, those kind of projects have to cooperate with Bureau of Natural Resource, or formerly land use bureau, right? So that you have to change the land use type, sort of from construction land to agriculture land, sort of things. You have to change the land use type or not? Or yeah, that's we'll be curious about that.
I think maybe I will start first. I don't think so far in China it'll be really challenging to change the land use type of agricultural land, especially if the area is designated as the basic or it's called the primary agricultural land. Yeah, that kind of area is very, very challenging to change the land use types. This is why we propose the agro parks, because that kind of park can still be considered as agriculture land, but has multiple functions. Yeah, this may be one possible solution we propose to cope with the local situation.
Yeah, like the agricultural park project in Panyu is a part of the overall urban design of the Lianhua Bay area, and was developed in the cooperation with the local natural resources bureau. But the current territorial and spatial planning is still has not been implemented in the region in the local area. Yeah. So there may be there may be still a gap between the policies and the planning. Yeah.
Yeah, this is something. This is really the plan. Yeah, we are proposing this, and the local bureau are thinking about this. Yeah, but whether we can implement it, yeah, that's really still depends. As I mentioned several times, our territory spatial planning has not been finalized. So we have no planning, we have no top-down, at all. So there's a lot of things we cannot implement now. Yeah. But this idea, it seems like there's some agreement. So we propose this, and the local people, and we all has similar thinking into this concept of these ideas. And Xizun and a group of my students just visit the area, the Panyi district. They conduct survey. I think just this week, right? Yeah, just 2 days ago. Yeah, they have surveyed the local residents there to further collect their opinion into this potential of this kind of development. Mm-hmm.
Should I reply a bit? Thank you for your answering. And as I understand, this is part of the future planning, sort of 2022 to 2035, something like that in the future planning, right? From Guangzhou.
Yeah, exactly.
And yes, so the agriculture park is still a proposal that fulfill the territory planning in the future. Guangzhou. Thank you.
But also can be implemented. It's in the territorial planning. It just is mainly the land use types. But this, the agriculture part, is more detailed planning with implementation potential. So they're still slightly different. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you for your answers. There's one question I see on the list that is related to what you just said, actually. So maybe I can, this question here, do you work with local people who live in the rural areas, and what does that cooperation look like? I mean, you just said that you did a survey, and
not just we did a survey, because we also get the local community planner involved. If this can be implemented, the local community planner will work closely with the local people to achieve this. It just so far, we are still not at the stage of implementation. So yes, so they are not really working with them. So far we just consult local people. Yeah.
Yeah, we just interviewed the local people.
Could you explain to our audience a bit more about the community planners? Because this is really interesting, this system. Where they are, how they work. Maybe you could explain this a bit to our audience.
Okay, so community planner is a kind of brand new system in China. It just started, depending on the different cities. It just start 2 or 3 years ago. The community planner is an individual group of people hired by local government, who work with as an interface between the government and the local people. Yeah, so they will do a lot of local investigation, talk a lot with the local people to really recognize the local challenges and the problems, and then report back to the local government. And then they will also get involved in the planning and the designing process, because they are the group of people assumed to be most familiar with the local conditions. Yeah. So and also this group of people, community planner, has a different type of organization. Some community planner are part-time. Yeah, some are part-time, planners working with the local people. But there's also a lot of community planners, it's just totally full-time. They just working in the district or some sort of in villages. Yeah, all the time, just to be familiar with the environment. Yeah, this is a new system, and I think the community planner involved in our project, this group of people, they used to work with the planning issues. they work there, so they know a lot about the local planning, and then they moved to a new role, working as a community planner. And this is why they are involved in our project. Yeah.
Thank you. Really interesting. And they are living then there. They have an office in the neighborhood.
Yeah, they have office there. Their job, one of their tasks is to really to work with the local people to be familiar with the local condition and to collect local challenges and problems. Yeah, and that definitely we also provide a lot of feedback to the top-down planning and the design. Yeah.
Sounds very collaborative and participative, so that's good. Getting opinions from people on the ground.
Yeah.
So the next question is quite long and quite specific, but also a very interesting one because it's talking about similarities between China and say Europe or other places that have very densely populated cities. So the question is, in Europe, it can be hard to find space for new edible city solutions. So for urban agriculture, for example, urban farms in very densely built and populated cities. And one solution is to integrate these edible city solutions, ECS, into existing structures, so buildings that are already there. First question is, do you face this challenge in Guangzhou? I'm guessing the answer is yes, because I think all big cities have this challenge of not having enough green spaces. And I think you also mentioned this in the presentation. And do you have any fixed quotas for this kind of solution? So do you have, in Germany, I think there is, in different cities, they have laws or like directives around there should be so and so much green space. So make a green roof or something like this. Do you have these kind of tools in your city planning?
Okay, so maybe this one, I can briefly answer it. There's two different type of situations. The first one is as you said, the old city center. We have the similar situation as what you have in Europe, but at the same time, it's also slightly different. Because in our planning system, there is, the percentage of green space requirement in our top-down planning system. For example, even in residential area, it's required, each residential neighborhood should have 30% to 35%, at least 30% of the land should be designated as green spaces. So we have this kind of very, very strong top-down, decision making for the green space. So I do, in my opinion, we still have a lot of land available for urban agriculture, but just not well developed. So it's not like Europe and not like some places in the United States. The beginning stage of the urbanization is just a lot of architecture and a lot of buildings, without consideration of the green spaces. But in China, once we start the development, we already learn from the rest of the world. So the idea of the green space system already embedded in our planning system. I would assume we have more space available in many places. Yeah. So this is one situation in the old cities. Yeah, in the old cities. There's another situation we are talking about. We are in our project, we are talking about the urban-rural interface. In the urban-rural interface, in that kind of area, the whole land potentially will be wiped out. And there's a lot of redevelopment, a lot of new adjustment. Yeah. So at the same time, in the whole development procedure, there's a strong control of the primary agricultural land. So that type of land, that type of agricultural land cannot be developed. And similarly, there's a lot of strong control in terms of the percentage of green spaces. So there's a lot of potential we may be able to put our idea, the edible city, the ideas into the planning process. Yeah. So that's two different situations. I think they're in our project. So it may be different, yeah, from what you are thinking in Europe. Yeah.
Marisa, I have a question here about tourism. You explained us in one of the scenarios that you will save migration corridors for birds and more, let's say, ecological areas. Do you think also to include a type of sustainable tourism there to link the urban dwellers with this nature, or is this only protection for nature?
I think there's a strong potential, we can include the tourism into the system. Yeah, I think there's, we will definitely propose that, in our planning, process. But so far, yeah, to be frank, in our the territory spatial planning process, the first thing to be preserved is the primary, agriculture land. The second thing is the ecological red land. So these two things are strongly, controlled by the planning system. Beyond that, we can add on. Yeah, we can potentially add on a lot of multifunctional features into the land use potentials. Yeah. I think that definitely there's a potential to do that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, due to our investigation, the regulations in the local are very strong about the tourism or constructing structures in the farmland. So there is a huge barrier here. Yeah, right now.
It just, previously, maybe 1 or 2 years ago, there's a high potential to develop tourism, activities in the agricultural land or some part of the ecological land area. But so far, recently, there's very, very restricted control, happening just recently. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Really interesting. Marisa, there is a question on monitoring.
Yes, we have this one question about whether there is monitoring right now to measure the impacts of urban agriculture. So in particular about ecological impact. As you mentioned in your presentation, there is the worry about like the runoff from agrochemicals. So the person is asking whether this is being monitored, and also if there's been an increase in biodiversity, maybe by monitoring the numbers of birds that are using the land. So do you have any indicators like this that you're monitoring currently, or that are being monitored?
That's the monitoring system, I know who asked, I can guess who asked this question. The monitoring system in China is also very scattered. So it's scattered into different agencies and scattered in different research. So yeah, it's really hard. We do have a lot monitoring, but there's no systematic system to measure urban agriculture. So far, I think the core monitoring program about agriculture is just the land use types. So they will monitoring whether the land has been converted into another type of land use, and that's a single thing the top-down governments, really, monitor a lot. As to the rest, thing, I don't think we have very systematic monitoring so far. There's a different type of monitoring. We do have different type of monitoring, but there's no systematic system about this. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. One more question, I think, before we are running over time. We had a question about the ponds that you mentioned in your presentation. So these traditional mulberry fish ponds that you showed us as already existing edible city solutions. very interesting to the audience, and someone was asking whether you were planning to develop like a new modern version of these type of fish ponds, whether this is something that you're going to be developing and maybe using new technologies or something to install. Is this something you're going to explore, or are they just existing and you're trying completely new things?
Yeah, well, due to our investigation, the traditional mulberry fish ponds are now very rare in the local, and because they are not that are labor and time consuming and lack of efficiency, so they can be maintained or renewed as demonstration of educational services or cultural memory in agricultural parks. So we would like to develop the new versions, but not in a very big scale, but in the form of sightseeing or just the education. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really challenging. You know, we do try, you know, this kind of very, you know, the agriculture kind of heritage. Yeah, it's a big challenge so far in China. The maintenance, you know, their maintenance, you know, is really cost a lot. So yeah, there's a high potential we can still keep them as a demo place, but how we really can integrate them into our modern system. Yeah, so yeah, we still don't find solutions yet. Yeah.
This is really interesting.
Common.
Yes, this is actually also a common challenge that we have in Berlin, also with a heritage site in Carthage, etc. So we really can also exchange on this issue. We are really happy that to have you in our project, in our team, and we are really happy about the possibility to exchange with you. And I'm sure that we will have another webinar with more questions, maybe in the next semester, Marisa, if you want. And yeah, I'm really happy.
Yeah, that will be okay. Yeah. And also by next semester, we will have more kind of planning and more progress into the project. Yeah, since we already we just collect quite a lot of local information. Yeah, we finally visited the site. So
perfect.
yeah,
and hopefully we can also
progress.
Hopefully we can also visit the sites soon, and you can visit us as well. So.
Hopefully, in the near future. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, sounds like a good plan. Next time we can have a progress update and hear about your findings. Okay, so thank you very much to all of you for taking part, for your presentations, and also for answering our numerous questions at the end. Yeah, thank you very much, as Ina said, for being part of this project and sharing your ideas and your expertise and all of the interesting work that you're doing. And yeah, thank you again very much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.